23 years ago, I bought my third PS1 game, a little known title called Final Fantasy VII, a game that I grew to adore and brought in a newfound level of love for adventure and role-playing games for me. Up until that point, the other games I had was Crash Bandicoot and Tekken 2. At the time it was so iconic that friends of mine that weren't fortunate enough to have a PlayStation wanted me to videotape the gameplay for them so that they could watch the game as well. Remember that there was no YouTube in the late 90s, or decent internet connections, come to think of it. Now I get the opportunity to give my review of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Be aware that this review does not intend to spoil, and I won't go into any story points. However, I will discuss the flow of the game to a degree, so if you haven't finished the game or find that a bother, perhaps save this to your videos and watch it again later. I found myself coming into this game with skepticism, as I haven't enjoyed a Final Fantasy game since Final Fantasy X. That might be a big thing to say, and I have played all the Final Fantasies since 10. 10 was the last one that gave me a sense of anticipation or a sense of closure at the end of the game. One of Remake's biggest strengths is the battle system. It feels like they took the best bits from 15, mixed it in with the original Final Fantasy VII, and came up with a perfect system that suits both camps. While the battles are simple in nature, you hit, you dodge, you block and use abilities, the challenge in every fight made me feel engaged in the struggle of Cloud and his party. Placed on top of this is the active time bars, the need to manage your party's ATB gauges, as well as summons, and it comes together in a beautiful battle lasagna. There were times when I went into a battle after finishing a really difficult boss, feeling pumped up about my ability, only to be wiped by simple mobs in the next fight. I wasn't prepped, and by the time I needed to fix the fight, I didn't have the ATB bars to do anything about it. Such is the design behind needing strategy, is that you cannot switch off in any fight, which is something that I haven't experienced in Final Fantasy for a long time. That drove me to ensure my materia was right, my weapons were right, my strategy between party members was right. The nice balance is that losing does not punish you with hours lost. You can simply restart from the point before the battle, maybe even fix up your materia or your weapons and get back into it. The weapon upgrade and materia mechanics for me worked as well as they needed to. Weapon development could be as detailed as you want it, with a manual upgrade and automatic upgrade systems in play to lend to your personal style. The materia system worked well enough for me, and it was great to see some returning materia, as well as some role-specific materia coming in to further enhance the battle mechanic. A subtlety to touch on here is that each of the 4 characters have a specific role, and without calling them White Mage, Brawler, Warrior, and Gunner, it was a very welcome return to the old school Final Fantasies where knowing your character's strengths played into your strategy. Accompanying all of this is the musical score, which suited every moment. Nomura-san talked about wanting a movie-like composition with the game score, ebbing and flowing as you progress. I can say that this was a monstrous success for me, and perhaps even the highlight of the game. Each track was fresh, but nostalgic. Each section of the game was given its own versions of battle music, urgency music, or suspenseful tones. I really can't say this enough, the score is an absolute delight on the ears. The addition of alternative soundtracks through the jukebox system was enlightened, and this tied into some of the Final Fantasy lore as well. Matching this was the voice casting choices layered on top of character development. Each character was portrayed as I had imagined them 23 years ago. It was great to see sassy Cloud back with his no-nonsense tones and mannerisms. Aerith had a great balance of feistiness and depth that was really well portrayed. Barret and Tifa also had fantastic character development moments, and each one of their relationships to Cloud was as fleshed out as it really needed to be. This is another one of the strengths of the remake, is that they were able to really solidify the development. In original Final Fantasy VII, Midgar was pasted in 6 hours. Here, it took me 35 to 40 hours to finish the game, and I really didn't do much questing. A lot of this time was spent on the character development, and it shows. I have been an advocate for additional content into Final Fantasy VII, and while I'm still new to YouTube, hopefully you'll grow to know this too. To this point, Final Fantasy VII's overall story and experience is a wonder to behold. There was a lot of hype and expectation for Square Enix to get this right, and on the whole they have, in my opinion. Each of the story's major points was expanded and developed on more than the original game could, which gave me as a returning player a heightened sense of anticipation knowing that these points were coming up. However, perhaps because I was a returning player, this led to some of the faults in the game. For me, the side quests really stemmed the flow of the game. Final Fantasy VII Remake has multiple points of no return by its nature, which meant that questing really does feel shoehorned into a few chapters, and I just really wanted to move on from those chapters. Chapter 3 is an example of this. I've just blown up a reactor. I had to escape from the clutches of Shinra, but now I have time to fight rats and find cats. I'm not saying all the quests have no relevance, but the shame is that a lot of extra content is behind these quest walls. The balance here is that I didn't do a lot of them in my first run, and it didn't impact me too badly as I finished the game well enough. My advice though is that you do take the time to get through this game, although that's easier said than done. My other bugbear with Remake comes in the changes to the narrative. Now I did say I'm open to expansion, however there were for me a couple of retcons in the game that really did sour my experience as a returning player. There were also a couple of points in the games where I expected Sora, Donald and Goofy to show up, which really didn't fit. Nomura-san, much respect, but let's have the franchises separate, please. Those that have never played the original Final Fantasy VII won't understand this point, but to me it makes me concerned about the direction of the overall project. I'm not going to delve into this now, but rest assured I will in my next video. I'm going to end my review by saying that one chapter that returning players were really worried about the most, that had the most potential for change due to its original nature, is the crowning jewel of this game. Which brings me to say that I couldn't put this game down, and it is very simply the best Final Fantasy experience I have had since Final Fantasy X. I'm sure returning players will love it and loathe it. However, new players should really enjoy this as a welcome return to form by one of the once best players in the market. This is the reason why I am giving you a gold medal Final Fantasy VII Remake. That's me, I'm out. I think I need a sandwich. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and remember to turn on the notifications button. Really hope you're enjoying the game, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video.